it is good for Kenyans and those who are watching us to know actually what is East African Community.
Yes.
And what is the agenda? What does it strive to achieve?
Yes.
And I want to enlighten people that East African Community is an economic bloc. You know, there is a vision of our Pan-African forefathers. And there were two lines of thoughts. The first line of thought was advanced by Julius Nyerere, that for us to be able to unite Africa and remove these colonial boundaries
Yes.
that are placed on us. Colonial boundaries because there are Maasais in Tanzania, there are Maasais
In Kenya.
in Kenya.
Yes.
But some colonial masters sat in Berlin in 1884 and decided to divide Africa the way they wanted. And us as Africans were divided in terms of kingdoms. There was the Maasai kingdom, there was the Buganda kingdom, there were the ones that was led by Haile Selassie. Just like we have the United Kingdom led by the late Queen Elizabeth, 65 years, never elected, there is no democracy. They were just led like that because it was a kingdom. But for us, they started now what we call political social neocolonialism by trying to brainwash us
And influence.
into using something like calling democracy and so on. So there was that line of thought advanced by Julius Nyerere that for us to unite Africa, let us have very strong economic blocks. Those blocks will now become the building blocks of the United States of Africa. There was another line of thought advanced by Kwame Nkrumah. For him, he wanted an instant United States of Africa and forming the United States of Africa.
Yes.
But later on, all of us bought into the Julius Nyerere school of thought because having an agreement, a treaty between 54 states was very difficult. But starting as the East African Community of only 3 states, having their own treaty, and then admitting more members the way we have done, now we are 8, up from the original of 1963, 3 of them.
Yes.
Now we are 8 of us, and there is also SADC, and there is ECOWAS, and there is all those economic blocks.
Yeah.
Later on, now signing a treaty among those economic blocks will
Yes.
be easier, and it will be easier for us
Yes.
to have an overall treaty for the United States of Africa.
Yeah.
Now, the East African Economic Bloc is a bloc like no other in the world because we are strategically placed.
Yeah.
We are the only economic bloc that touches on 2 major oceans and a sea. We touch on the Atlantic Ocean through DRC
Yeah.
and also the Indian Ocean through Kenya, Tanzania, and Somali, and the Gulf of Aden together with the Red Sea through Somali.
Yes.
So we can literally export and import our goods. We can do business to the Far East using Indian Ocean.
Yes.
Those are countries of Japan, China, the whole of Asia.
Yes.
And then we can do business with the Middle East and European countries using the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. We can also do business to the United States of America, Canada, North America and South America, Brazil, Argentina, all of them, Chile, using the Atlantic Ocean through DRC.
Yes.
So we are economically, strategically placed as an economic bloc of East African Community. Again, it is only East African Community which have a coastline that is longer than any other regional bloc.
Yes.
We have a coastline of 6,500 kilometers.
From Tanzania
All
up
the way
to
to
Somalia.
Yes.
Yes.
And then again in DRC.
Yes.
We also have 1.4 billion acres. 1.4 billion acres. And fortunate enough, the 1.4 billion acres is totally arable land. Land that can be used for agriculture, for livestock rearing, or for forestry.
Yes.
So for us, we don't have a desert. We don't have land that we say we cannot use, apart from maybe the land that is with snow on top of Mount Kilimanjaro and on top of Mount Kenya.
Yes.
The rest of the land is arable, is good for wildlife, good for livestock rearing, good for agriculture, good for forestry. We are also the economic bloc with the largest number of lakes, the highest number of lakes.
True.
And very large lakes. Lake Victoria, for instance, is the biggest lake in Africa, the second largest freshwater lake in the world. We also have lakes like Lake Nakuru, Lake Naivasha, Lake Bogoria, Lake Tanganyika is the longest lake that we have in the world. That can be used for blue economy. We have Lake Turkana, Lake Nyasi, formerly known as Lake Malawi, Lake Kivu. I can't name all of them. We have also water bodies in terms of rivers.
Yes.
The longest river in Africa and the second longest in the world is River Nile, that originates from the East African community and passes most of the countries of East African community, including Uganda and Republic of South Sudan. We also have Congo River. Congo River is the river with the highest amount of water in the world.
Yeah.
It may not be the longest,
but
in terms of the volume,
yes,
it is the one that have the largest amount of water in the world. So in terms of blue economy, we are all strategically placed, and that's why we are saying investors should know that this, and actually investors in Kenya should know this. Again, we have a population of 350 million people.
That's a huge market.
That is a market larger than America. Most of the people have been rushing to America. No. Rush to the East African community because we are soon becoming the world superpower in terms of natural resources. Gold in Congo, by the way, Tanzanites. Don't even mention the gold because gold may be everywhere. Tanzanites are only found
in Tanzania.
In Tanzania. Nowhere else in the world. So this economic bloc is one of the largest and one of the promising economic bloc. You know, again, in terms of wildlife, remove from the world map, remove Amboseli, remove Masai Mara, remove Tsavo, remove Serengeti,
yes,
remove the gorillas of Uganda and Rwanda.
Yes.
Then what do you remain in terms of wildlife in the world? The world become naked in terms of wildlife. So wildlife literally is East Africa.
Yes.
And East Africa is wildlife. So in terms of tourism, we have an edge. So the tourism hotels and the hospitality industries, if they actually concentrate on East Africa, they can make more money than what they are making in some very funny tourist sites of New York and Dubai and the zoos that are found elsewhere in the world.
Mheshimiwa, you've mentioned about tourism, but maybe we'll touch on it a bit later. But there is something you mentioned about the resources we have.
Yes.
When you collect and you add up everything that we have, it's a massive resource.
Yes.
The human resource, natural resources, you know, rivers and lakes and all these things. Clearly, we are self-sufficient.
Completely.
How do we harness all these riches and resources for the benefit of us collectively as a community?
The first step is for us to fight the political, socio-economic neocolonialism. Because we have been brainwashed. Our brains have been captured by the West and channel our brains towards what we call capital-intensive investments.
Okay.
And when you invest on capital-intensive investment as a poor country, even as a poor individual, you end up borrowing for you to be able to invest because this is a capital-intensive investment. Okay. It requires financial capital.
Yes.
What we want as an economic bloc, for us to break away from the chains of the political, social neocolonialism, socio-economic neocolonialism, is for us to realize that we are poor and we accept that we don't have money.
Yes.
So what we do is invest in human capital through what we call labor-intensive investment. Because as you know, our countries in Africa generally don't produce these TVs, don't produce cars. Toyota is produced in Japan, Mercedes in Germany, but nothing is produced in Africa.
Yes.
These laptops and these...
we only assemble.
Yes, all of them are produced elsewhere. But we also produce something in large quantities, and that is children.
Yes.
We produce human beings. So that is why, if we have to start now growing economically, let us channel our effort towards labor-intensive investment.
Okay.
In capital-intensive investment, this is what have put us in this hole of loans,
Okay.
of borrowing. But when you go to labor-intensive investment, then we are sure that we can create wealth to be able to fund later on the capital-intensive investment. I can give you an example. And this example I'm giving you from experience, because you have also asked me about what I have done as an individual.
Yes.
After my swearing in, that is on 17 December
Yes.
2022, just 2 months, 3 days after my swearing in, that is on 20th February 2023,
Yes.
I introduced a bill in the East Africa Legislative Assembly, which was passed, of us using local currencies within East Africa when we are doing
trade.
business.
Okay.
Any trade, inter-country trade of the member states of East Africa, we use our local currency.
So
Meaning,
we set aside the dollar,
yes,
we sell in shillings and...
yes, because that is another method of political, socio-economic neo-colonialism.
Yes.
You know why? If today I want to buy maize from Uganda, the first thing I do here before I go is change the Kenya shillings into dollars at a fee.
Yes.
And then once I'm in Uganda, those farmers don't know dollars.
You
I have to change
back.
dollars into Uganda shillings at a fee. So it end up consuming 10% of every trade that we do,
Yes.
every transaction that we do within our member states. 10% for nothing, for selling air, for selling papers. 10% I'm buying maize from Uganda. So these are Kenyan called Sango.
Yes.
Buying maize from Odongo,
From
Honorable
Uganda.
John Odonga from Uganda.
Yes.
Pilipili usioila ya kuwasha nini? Where does America come? Why are they earning?
And yet you are neighbors. You
That is why I said, if I go to Uganda, they either accept their Uganda shillings or my Kenya shillings.
Yes.
But the issue of dollar,
You set
do
aside.
away. You know, this socio-economic neocolonialism is so deep-rooted here in Kenya and in East Africa. You can imagine a hotel in Masai Mara, even here in Nairobi,
Yes.
where you are, my friend. Ask them to give you their brochure. How much do you
Their
charge
rates,
for bed
their
and
rates
breakfast?
are indicated in dollars.
They will tell us, we charge $100 per night, bed and breakfast. Idiots. Go to New York and ask them to give you rates in Kenya shillings.
They will never.
They have never given us rates in Kenya shillings. So why are we accepting this socio-economic neocolonialism to be in our minds? Why don't we give in Kenya shillings? Let people convert their dollars into Kenya shillings. They pay us so that they see the cumbersome of carrying their dollars. Yes? If we will have forced them to buy our products in Kenya shillings, to pay our hotels in Kenya shillings, they will convert those dollars
To Kenya shillings.
to Kenya shillings in the airport or in their motherland before they came. So we really have to break down, and that is one way in which we can grow. I have also told you, around 6 months and 11 months, that is on 6th December 2023, in our session that we are having in Kigali.
Yes.
I also introduced a bill that was passed, and I thank all the member states because they have always been supporting me, that we should ban importation of leather products and exportation of raw leather.
Yes.
You can imagine, my friend, and I can give you statistics because these are statistics. In Kenya, you guys slaughter 2.5 million cattle. Hiyo ni ng'ombe tu peke yake.
Yes.
Bila mbuzi, kondoo, ngamia na hizo zingine zote. Kwa hivyo hiyo ngozi ya ng'ombe peke yake ni 2.5 million. Another 1 million sinakufa kwa sababu ya ugonjwa na njaa. Na unajua ng'ombe ikikufa kwa sababu ya ugonjwa ni nyama ndio imegonjeka, ngozi
iko sawa.
bado inatumika. Huwezi kula nyama kwa sababu iko na ugonjwa, lakini ngozi itaweza tumika. Ng'ombe ikikonda, ngozi haikondi, ni nyama ndio inaisha, and become inedible. Sasa nyinyi mnachinja ng'ombe 3.5 million, ile ya kusulota for meat na ile ya kukufa. Lakini hiyo ngozi inakuliwa na umbwa na fisi. Kwa nini? Because you are importing 25 million pairs of leather shoes. So you can see the contradiction. You
so
can
there
see
is a
the
farmer somewhere
social
who is benefiting from
Yes.
selling shoes
Yes.
to this end.
because that is social economic neocolonialism.
Yes.
Yani brain yako imekamatwa kabisa mpaka ati leather utumane iende China itengenezwe
Irudishwe.
uletewe ikiwa viatu. One leather inaweza toa 20 pairs of shoes. Hiyo kiatu nakuja kuuziwa ingine 50,000,
Yes.
ingine 2,000 the cheapest, so average ya 10,000. So hiyo ngozi ya ng'ombe yako yenye uliuza na 100 shillings inarudi kuwa
After some
200,000.
value addition hapa na pale.
Inakuwa 200,000.
Yes.
Kuna handbag hata 50,000.
Yes.
So you can imagine how we have been brainwashed, how we have been yani colonized. You see?
And
Yani
you
wewe
need to-
unapatia ngozi yako ikuliwe na
Fisi.
na fisi. Na unajua nimeenda Australia. Nimeenda Netherlands, Switzerland. Ngozi ya ng'ombe iko na bei kuliko nyama ya ng'ombe. Kama ng'ombe inauzwa 50,000, unasikia mtu anakuja anasema ngozi ni 70,000.
So
Sasa leta
wakulima
50,000 ya nyama.
wanafuga mifugo juu ya ngozi.
Juu ya ngozi.
Nyama ni byproduct.
A byproducts. Sasa hapa sisi tunapoteza kwa sababu, and that is why nilileta bill ya kukataza importation of
Ya ngozi.
leather products,
Yes.
but exportation of
Leather product.
leather,
Of leather.
raw leather.
Yes.
Tusiuze raw leather yenye ijatengenezwa ng'ambo, na sisi hatusikubali
Tuletewe
viatu ya ngozi, wallet ya ngozi, mshipi ya ngozi ikuje hapa.
Na hizo bills
Why
mingi
did I
ambazo
decide on these two bills?
Yes.
It is because they are labor intensive.
Yeah.
Watu wetu hata kina baba yetu wamekuwa na mishipi ya ngozi.
Yes.
Wamekuwa wanalalia ngozi kama mattress. Mimi nimelalia ngozi kama mattress. Baba zetu walikuwa wanavaa viatu ya ngozi yenye wanajitengenezea wenyewe. Umeona hao Wamasai yenye wanauza viatu ya ngozi hapa na pale, ile ingine imeongezwa tire inaitwa nginyara ama akala, lakini wanatengeneza kidogo ikuwe maridadi kutumia shanga. Why don't we make them locally? Because what they require is labor intensive. Na nimekuambia we have no shortage of supply of human capital.
Yes.
Sisi wenyewe tuna export labor, tunapeleka watoto wetu Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Ili hali tutaweza wapatia
Kazi.
kazi hapa kwa kutumia labor intensive. Saa hizi hiyo bili yangu nikiambia serikali kataza viatu ya ngozi ziingie huku, nimeitisha serikali pesa ngapi? I don't need money from the government. Automatically watu wataanza kuanza factory. Hata ule mwenye alikuwa anatuuzia viatu kutoka China ataona, kwa sababu asikuji yeye akuje mwenyewe hapa, kwa sababu ngozi ndio hii, wafanyikazi wako hapa, basi
Tengeneza viatu.
ni kutengeneza viatu hapa na iko na soko.
Yes.
Kwa sababu watoto wetu wenye wanaenda shule hapa nje ya Kenya ni 9 million.
Yes.
By the way, East African community import 91 million pairs of shoes.
Yes.
So already the market is there. Lakini sisi these are labor intensive. Ile ingine ya currency, kukuambia wewe ukifanya biashara na Uganda tumia
Shillings.
Shillings ya Kenya ama shilingi ya Uganda. Ni nini tumeitisha serikali? Tumewaambia waenda waombe loan. Hakuna pesa sisi tunaitisha serikali. Ni ile tu sheria tukiweka kidogo basi sisi wenyewe tunakuza
Na hii
uchumi wetu.
sheria especially this one ya currency. How far along is it in the parliament, in the IALA parliament, and
Sisi
how has the reception been?
Sisi tumepitisha, nilisupportiwa na all the member state. I thank them.
Yes.
Both of my bills have been passed. And my next bill is mambo ya furnitures. To ban importation of furnitures into East Africa. Kwa sababu pia hiyo ndio ingine ya labor intensive.
Yes.
You know why? Unahitaji nyundu, msumeno,
Msumari.
randa na nini, yani vitu ya 10,000. Alafu uko na factory ya kutengeneza furnitures. Sasa inategemea style yako. Ukitengeneza furniture ya style mzuri, watu
Bei
watanunua, bei inaenda juu.
Yes.
So kwa nini ati tunaleta kutoka China? Na iko na Congo Forest, iko na Mao Forest. We have the largest water tower. Nilikuambia our 1.4 billion acres of land is arable for forestry, for agriculture, for animal rearing.
Yes.
So yani meza
Unaleta kutoka
tuna
China.
import. Ati na wale watu wanaenda kutengeneza huko wanabeba mbao kutoka huku. Ingine ni Dubai, haina hata mbao. Unajua Dubai ni desert.
Haina
So
forest.
it does not have any forest.
Yes.
Lakini vijana wetu wanaitwa huko
kwenda kufanya kazi,
wanaenda kufanya kazi. Hao Waarabu hao hawezi fanya kazi ya kutengeneza viti, watu wako na mafuta, so mambo ya kugonga vitu na nyundu na kujigonga vidole hao hawezi. Sasa ni vijana wetu bado wanaenda kutumia huko kama slaves, wanatengeneza hizo furnitures alafu tunaletewa hapa na bei kali. Na ndio sababu hizo bills, at least for the first 2 years of me being in Yala, nataka yote 2 imeshapita, imebaki 1 kwa sababu nataka 3 kwanza nipitishe ya labor intensive. Na already hizi ile ambao tumepitisha, those bills are now with the head of state summit. Kwa sababu sisi pia East African Community ni kama serikali kama hii yenyu yenye iko hapa, iko na 3 arms. Iko na legislative arm ambao ni sisi tunatengeneza sheria, iko na executive arm ambao ni heads of state summit with the council of ministers,
yes.
ambao hao ndio wata sign hiyo sheria na kuimplement, wana sign into law na wana implement.
So tuseme sasa wakipitisha, ishapitishwa
iko kwa
iende kwa executive,
head of government, head of state summit,
yes.
That is the executive arm.
Yes.
Sasa kama tu president president akisha sign, sasa inakuwa nini? Inakuwa sheria.
So lazima irudi back to
na ikikuwa sheria hiyo ni sheria from the regional parliament.
Yeah.
So the other parliaments become hii ya kijiji. Sasa hiyo lazima
kupitisha tu.
Ni kama sasa ukipitisha sheria National Assembly, kwani kuna county Senate Assembly yenye huwezi pitisha?
Si hiyo county tukishasema tumeshasema community we are going this direction.
We are just waiting for the head of state summit waweke signature yao, the 8 presidents,
yes.
Because hiyo ndio head of state summit,
yes.
And then inakuwa sheria, na ikishakuwa sheria hii nyingine lazima mfuate.
So inakuwa tu the ministers wakutane, yes. Watengeneze ile modality ya adopt
ya implement,
yes.
Just the way we internalize once we ratify the international instrument, they become part of our laws.